Good morning and welcome to our spring WiNDAC meeting. Thank you all for joining us today. We're pretty excited. We have a working agenda meeting today, which we typically do. So we are looking forward to your valuable feedback that you share in each and every one of these meetings. I am honored to invite Wisconsin Department of Transportation Secretary Christina Boardman to officially open our WiNDAC meeting with some opening remarks. Christina, may I turn it over to you?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Really glad to be here for the welcome and thanks all for being here for the spring meeting of WiNDAC. Our team is super excited to talk to you today about the WISDOT developed mapping tool, which uses data to identify non-driver populations throughout the state. And I know this team has talked about that tool before. So during this meeting, we're going to center around that GIS mapping tool. And this is going to be getting a refresh this year. So that's why we want to talk about it. It really is an important resource for local municipalities, planners, transportation providers, really understanding the needs of non-drivers in their communities. And especially as they plan to expand or look at other transportation projects in that area. So we know that you have been using the tool. We're eager to hear from you on how that tool is being used, any limitations that you may face, and how we can update it in the future to better meet the needs. So again, this is a great time to do that since we're talking about that refresh and want to make sure that we are responding to the right things. I think we all know that GIS mapping, these types of technologies have really become important resources for us here at DOT as we plan multimodal transportation projects throughout the state. And using this data to inform decisions really allows us to do our job in the best way that we can, make sure that the improvements that we're talking about are delivered in the right ways, they meet the safety and mobility needs for the people that are going to be using them. So, when we have these types of tools, we want them to be interactive. We want our transportation partners to upload and layer their own data into this tool so that, again, we're all making those informed, efficient decisions for our communities and the customers that we all serve. So looking at that research on this GIS tool, looking at engineering innovations that have occurred since we launched that, and really helping hearing from you on how we can best do that in the future is what we're here to do. So we're listening. Our goal is to build a multimodal transportation system that always emphasizes safety, accessibility, mobility for all users, and taking advantage of these technology tools allows us to do that in very important ways. So you are the most important listening resource on this, and so we look forward to spending a little time today to talk about that. So thanks so much for having me here for the welcome. And I really do hope that you enjoy this spring meeting. We get some great information to allow us to improve the tool moving forward.
Thank you so much, Secretary Boardman. Really appreciate your opening remarks. As Secretary Boardman mentioned, today's meeting is all about the non-driver GIS interactive mapping tool. The mapping tool was released publicly in early 22, a direct outcome of the work of this committee has been doing for the past 5 years. Recognizing that non-drivers face difficult challenges and barriers depending on where they live or having to navigate unique mobility needs. It is important for communities to understand the needs of non-drivers and where they live as they begin a project to be inclusive in their planning efforts. Understanding the transportation needs of a community is often the first step in planning any transportation project to improve mobility, expanding a roadway, improving sidewalk access, designing sidewalk crosswalks, and providing public transit. The non-driver mapping tool uses DMV data and US Census data to estimate non-drivers at the county level, the city level, and even at the block level. I hope that you all had a chance to open up the mapping tool and look through some of the data and community profiles that are important to your area of the state. And in doing that, we'll share with us the effectiveness of the tool and its possible uses. Today, we have an opportunity to hear what is working from all of you and to find out what can be better in the use of in the ease of use and the presentation of results. Think about why you would use this tool and what information you hope to gain about non-drivers in your community. The tool is only as effective as its purpose. WISTA, as Secretary Boardman mentioned, is undergoing a refresh of the data, particularly related to obviously the non-driver mapping tool. And we want to hear from you about the ease of use, understanding the documentation, clarity of presentation, and visual aids that might be helpful to anyone that's using the tool. Um, some of you may remember Ethan Severson. He was involved with WiNDAC, for a number of years. He is here today to give a demonstration of the tool, particularly if you did not have an opportunity to explore it or if you had any challenges exploring it. He's going to go through and walk through that tool with all of us today. So it kind of helps us be able to engage in our breakout sessions and dive into some deeper discussions about, how useful the tool is to you, what can we do to improve that tool, and then also what do you like about the tool. So I encourage all of you during Ethan's demonstration, if you have any questions, if you're able to, please put them in the chat. We will work really hard to try to address them along the way. And if it's better for you to save your questions until we go into the breakout sessions, you're welcome to do that as well. And again, I can't emphasize enough that your feedback is very important to us. Just a reminder, data can be very powerful. Approximately 31% of Wisconsin's population are non-drivers. So Wisconsin, in partnership with all transportation providers, all have a responsibility to address the needs of all users of multimodal transportation. After Ethan's demonstration, we'll disperse into our breakout sessions for discussion. And again, go through what's helpful, what other information would be useful in the mapping tool, and again, how the mapping tool can be helpful in local planning efforts, and including your own organization. Think about how it could be helpful in the work that you do in your organizations or any advocacy work that some of you are doing. After the breakout sessions, we're going to return back to the larger group and ask you to share, what surprised you about the tool. Were there any aha moments for you? And then if you did get a chance to explore the tool, what surprised you when you looked in your particular community? Again, thank you all for being here, and let's all get started because we have a powerful tool that we're looking to make better for anyone that's going to be accessing it for a variety of purposes. So, Ethan, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to go ahead and give us a demo.
Thank you, Leah. Really appreciate it and appreciate the overview of the tool. Very happy to come back to WiNDAC and to talk about the non-driver interactive mapping tool as well. What should be, I started to share my screen and I'm going to make sure everything is up and running. Brad, do you mind letting me know that you can see the screen? It should be the WIS.home homepage. Perfect. I think I'm seeing a couple heads nod and that. So thank you, Brad, and others. So like Leah mentioned, wanted to provide a demonstration of our Wisconsin non-driver interactive mapping tool that we've developed here at the department. And before we get into the tool, I want to preview to you as to how to get to the tool itself. And so on our WIS.home homepage, and this is the fastest way to navigate to the tool, is if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have a category called Key Department Initiatives. And if you find the one that says Wisconsin Non-Drivers, you click on that link there. That is what will take you to a new web page, which I have preloaded all this just so that way the transitions go a little bit faster here. But it opens up a new web page, which should be up on your screens. That's titled Improving Transportation for Non-Drivers. This web page in itself talks a little bit about the committee with WiNDAC and provides a link to that other web page where you can view the meeting summaries and agendas for past meetings. And then immediately below that, there's this table. And this rings true with what Leah had just mentioned, is that through this tool, we estimate that there are 31% of Wisconsin's population across the state are non-drivers. Using the methodology that we used to create that estimate, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as well before we get into the tool. But from there, you find the non-driver interactive mapping tool. We had released this for the first time in early 2022. And as Leah described, it's a tool meant to assist with planning and other related activities, and it provides those estimates of non-drivers within Wisconsin's counties, city, village, and towns, and then U.S. Census tracts and block groups. There are two ways to get to the tool, but you can click on here. It says view the non-driver interactive mapping tool in itself, or you can click on this larger icon with a map of the state of Wisconsin, and that'll take you to the tool. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that I highlight quickly here is that in addition to releasing the tool, we've put together some resources to accompany the tool. One of those is a user guide, which we had linked in the email that got sent out to all of you before the meeting. This provides an overview of the basic features within the non-driver interactive mapping tool, which I'm going to go into what those features are in a couple minutes. So I won't pull up that user guide necessarily in so part of this demonstration. But then what we do have below that, we have some documentation that outlines our methodology and assumptions that we made to arrive at those non-driver population estimates. And Brad, I apologize, I saw your hand go up. You see my screen? So I'm going to keep going here, hoping that you should see a new web page up that has where I'm kind of describing the different links and resources that are available. Thank you, Katrina, for the head nod there. And so I apologize for that quick brief break there, but the methodology and assumptions document provides that high-level overview of us here at the department combining the U.S. Census population data with DMV data to indirectly come up with those population estimates. And so we go through a filtering process of those two data sets, the U.S. Census data and the DMV data. And ultimately, how we end up defining a non-driver for the purpose of this tool is non-drivers are individuals who do not hold a driver's license or who do hold a driver's license, but we were not able to match them to a registered vehicle. And so that's how we define them to get to the estimates that you see within the application. Additionally, we have developed a few 3 brief short videos to go over the same overview of the functionality within the platform. So those are available here as well. And then we have some additional links for adjusting the text and the map size once you're in that tool, and then a link to some accessibility support that the vendor that behind the platform, Esri, has provided. And so what I want to get into then from here is I want to jump right into the non-driver interactive mapping tool. But before I do that, I want to describe kind of what is the tool built on, right? And what is the platform that we're using? So I mentioned Esri. We are using a Esri product, which is Esri is a geospatial mapping company. We use them for a variety of different maps here at the department. And we use their platform called ArcGIS. And ArcGIS is a comprehensive geospatial and mapping platform that was developed by this company. And it allows users to create and analyze the information that's put into that map. And it's and you can use it in a variety of ways depending on your needs. And so one of the ways that we use this tool is to produce those non-driver population estimates. But getting into the platform itself, the first thing that you see when you click on that link is a quick splash screen. This splash screen, it describes some of that information on how we derived at the population numbers that you see. We pull that from the census, and that we use the DMV data. So it briefly describes our data sources, provides links to the those other resources that we've developed, and then it does talk about there is the potential margin of error within these population estimates, which is why when I'll show you in a couple minutes here, but we provide those estimates in a range. And so we provide documentation on there, and then there's a contact if you have questions. To move past the splash screen, you can click OK in the bottom right. And what then immediately pops up, you should see a kind of a zoomed out version of the state of Wisconsin. And the default view is showing the county names across the state. I can zoom in and zoom out, and you see that map start to change. You'll see some more granular detail with the shading of colors here. We use a white to green hue for our platform, and so you can this map is dynamic where you can zoom in and out. You can click your mouse and drag over to one side, and then you can move and view another part of the state. So this is how you can navigate the map in the background. But getting at to what I want to describe is what are you seeing? What is displayed within the map? And in the top right here, we have a few different buttons that you can click on, and these have different functionality. I'm going to go through some of them here for the demonstration. The first one that I want to start with is it's the fifth button from the left, and it's called Map Layers. This is the layers that we have, the information that we have available in the tool. And so we provide in this tool at its base level the DMV service centers locations across the state. So if I were to click on this little box here, I'm going to let the map load, but you saw the map should change, and that's where those DMV service center icons will pop up, and I can analyze that information as I need to. Other layers and information that we have in here are the boundaries, so the lines for our counties, city, village, towns, the tribal lands, tracts, and block groups. So that shows the borders of each geographic area, and you can toggle those on and off as what you would like to do. Where it gets into with the shading that I was mentioning is we provide the population estimates for non-drivers in two categories. We do one on non-drivers of all ages, so birth on up, so 0 and then on. We provide those population estimates for those geographic areas that I've mentioned. And then additionally, we provide those population estimates just factoring in from 15 on up. And we did 15 as that's when at 15 and a half, individuals are eligible for their permit. in addition to that is in how the U.S. Census breaks down the age buckets. So they have one starting at 15. And so that's how we designed filtered those areas. What you can do as well is to give some more definition. There's the button to the right of that called the legend. This provides some information to the information that's displayed in the map. So we have, like I mentioned, those borders. Right now, they're currently set up for the county. So you should see the county borders in this black and dash and dotted line going around each county. But then the layer that's defaulted, as soon as you open the map, we have the non-drivers of all ages, so that birth on up, those non-driver population estimates for the cities, villages, and towns. And the color gradation goes from a light color, that's the 0 to 10% range, and then the darker green that you get, or the darker hue, it goes up at 10% intervals, so 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and then 40% or more, which is the last category. So it is the darkest green color, or the darkest hue that you would see. But to give you some examples of how you can navigate the information that's here. And I'm gonna, throughout this demonstration, I'm gonna look at a few different locations. These examples are just to show you the functionality of the tool. And so the first one that I want to highlight and is with the city of Madison. And as I go through this demonstration, I'm going to get a little bit more complex each time in terms of what you're able to do and what that power is behind the non-driver interactive mapping tool. But I'm going to zoom in to the city of Madison. I'm just gonna let it load a little bit on all of your screens. Know that might take a couple seconds here. And I'm gonna select the, this is this green area, darkest hue color. I'm gonna just click on the map within the city of Madison. What this does is it opens up a pop-up box. This pop-up box defines for me what is the information behind that geographic area. So I'd mentioned that the default view is for the city, villages, towns layer. And so when I clicked on that, that pop-up box will tell me what county I've clicked on. So this is Dane County. I've clicked on the city of Madison, and then it will tell me the non-driver population estimate. For the whole city, we estimate that there are 40% or more non-drivers within the city. Other information that we pull from the U.S. Census that we make available with this is the median household income, the population breakdown, and this is just the total population, not the non-driver population estimate breakdown. And then similarly, what we pull is some race and ethnicity information from the census as well. But let's say, for example, you want to, as a user, look at more of on a granular level. What is the makeup of a given location? So I'm going to go back to the map layers. I'm going to go to, right now we're looking at the non-drivers of all ages data set, the non-drivers of all ages population estimates. I'm going to click on that drop-down arrow, and I want to look at the block groups. So the block groups are the smallest geographic area that's available within this platform. So I'm going to click that box, and you see the map should start to change. I'm going to turn off the city, village, towns, all ages layer. And then, as if you may recall, this area here is still about the city of Madison, but now you're seeing much more different smaller shapes and different hues of color within what would be the city limits. And so I can click on another one of these block groups and click on that shape. And as you can see, that geometry got smaller than the full city, but within this block group, we still estimate that it is 40% or more. We have the same census-related information here, but then I'm going to go to another part of the city, and I'm picking another segment that shows to show the difference, show the contrast here and what you can do. And so what I clicked on was the all ages block group. And this is where the hue here, that the color is more of a white, which is the lowest population estimate. So we estimate in this given geographic area that it's 0 to 10%. So you as the user can really see the differences between or the differences within that geographic area, depending what you want to look at. What I can also do as well is if I wanted to look at the just 15 and older, let's say I wanted to not look at all ages, I can then do that same type of analysis. So this is where I'm looking at the age 15 and older. This is the city, village, towns level. So I'm going to click on the city of Madison again. At age 15 and older, we estimate that it's 30 to 40%. If I wanted to look at the city of Madison within the block groups, age 15 and older, I'll click on that, and you can see those hues change over time, or not over time, but change within that geographic area. What you are also able to do is if you are not, if you're more familiar with like Excel spreadsheets, for example, and you want to work with this data outside of the platform, you can, if you click on this, there's this little yellow arrow on the bottom of the screen. This pulls up the information that's within the platform in a table format. And if I scroll over on the right and click on actions, this is where I can export the data that I have in the tool. And if I want to pull that out and put that into another ArcGIS Online tool, I can do that. Or if I want to work with the information I'm seeing in a table, I can do that here. I'd like to move to another location. And for this example, what I'm going to show is how you can overlay data from other sources onto the map. So I'm just going to reset some of these, some of this data here, and then I'm going to scroll out of the map, and I'm going to zoom into the Green Bay area. I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to pause, and I'm going to let my computer load. Give your computers a second to catch up as well. And so what it is, I kind of reset the map. And so what I'm showing now is the all ages city, village, towns level with up in the Green Bay area. I can click on that location. I can see that same population estimate, so that 30 to 40% within that full city. I can do the same more granular detail if I'd like to, where I can turn on those all ages block groups and look at the city in a more granular level. I can do that, but where I want to show you is the ability to add data. So there's the second to left button is called Add Data. This is where it opens up another pop-up menu. I click to add data here, and this is where I can find publicly available data, which is the example that I'm going to show you from the Bay Lake RPC. Additionally, if I have a URL from another source that has GIS acceptable data that I can put into the map, I can do that. Or if I have a file that's within my organization, I can upload that file into the tool and view that data in comparison with the non-driver population estimates. I'm going to show you an example of that as well. But so what I'm going to show for this example is the some transit routes for within the Green Bay area. This is an example that we've given before, and so I know that this data source is publicly available through giving these demonstrations. And so if I type in Bay Lake RPC, I know that they have their transit routes available for this location. This isn't information that the department maintains, but we know that it's, I was able to find it by searching through here for this demonstration. So if I click on that and then click done, it'll add it to this pop-up menu and we'll give it a second to load. But then this is where you see the map shifted again. And what I can do, I'm going to zoom back into the Green Bay area. Give your computers a second to load along with mine. And so these are the transit routes, and which are those black lines, dark lines, and then these are the bus stop locations. So if I want to, I can click on that that icon and view more information about it. Additionally, this is what I can do. So we pulled that data in. We've overlaid it into this area. What I am able to do as well is I can still turn on and off as I see fit for that analysis that I'm trying to do. I can turn on and off those non-driver population estimates. So as the user, I can start to overlay data and make comparisons with the non-driver population estimates based on what that question is that I'm trying to solve. The last example that I'm going to give, and I want to open it up for some questions, is I'm going to go to a third location. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to reset this map again. So you can see I was able to go back to the add data. I clicked the trash can icon and delete. I was able to delete that from the map. So we'll just go and reset just a couple things here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to move over to the city of Menominee. And we're just going to let this load a little bit. I can use my mouse and move over to the city. Otherwise, if you would like to find a specific location, you can type in an address or a city location, and it will pull it up in this search bar to the left. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into the city of Menominee, and I'm going to show you a couple other ways that you can overlay data in an additional, more complex way. And so as a part of the non-driver interactive mapping tool, and I'm going to use this add data feature again, is the vendor behind the ArcGIS platform, Esri, has what's called a living atlas. And so this is where they make data publicly available. It's another source where you can pull in information and overlay into your map as applicable. I did do a bit of research before the meeting and want to pull in one that's related to education structure, so schools and universities, for example. So what I did is I clicked on this drop down that went to Living Atlas from Esri. I'm clicking on that location or that box again. This is one that's titled Educational Structures. Like I said, I did a little bit of research, but the search bar is a little bit dynamic as well, where you can start to type in some topical areas and it'll give you a list of data that is available, and you can analyze those to see if they fit with what you're looking at. This particular data set that I'm pulling in is from it's federal data that Esri has brought in, and it has, if I want to click for more details, I click on this eye icon. That'll pull up another web page where I can view the information about that data set. I'm gonna click done. We're gonna add that in. Since this data set is national, it pulls up, it reorients the map in a broader scale. So I'm gonna click the default map view button here on the left, which takes me back to Wisconsin. I'm going to zoom in back to the city of Menominee. I'm going to let it load. And this is where some additional icons pop up where I can see that these are some schools that are within the city. As the orange box, this green is UW Stout, where they've placed that location there. I'm going to overlay that. What I can also find, going back to the add data button, and this is showing that kind of complexity of how you can overlay a lot of data. So I'm going to pull in some DNR data for public boat access sites. That is one that the Wisconsin DNR has made publicly available. So I've selected that in the same fashion I did before. I click done. It'll add it to the state. Again, the map reorients itself. But as you can see, I'm really starting to bring in a lot of different data sources together, and you can analyze them in whichever way that fits with that question that you're trying to analyze. But as you can see, the city of Menominee has a few boat access sites, and those populate on the map in terms of icons. What I did want to show, and this will be the last thing, and I know I'm a little bit over time here, but is the ability to upload your own data. So we have, as a resource on the non-driver interactive mapping tool site, a template where you can add GPS coordinates to that Excel spreadsheet, and then you can upload it into the map, and it'll put those points on the map. I'm going to click on upload here. I've got the file here. I pre-made this for this discussion. I've identified those GPS coordinates, put them into the template. I'll give it a second. And there we go. Uploaded 2 of them, so I'm going to delete 1. But then where you see this is a 2 additional dots added to the map, where there's one, I picked 2 locations. One is a hospital over here. So this is another orange dot. And then I picked a random grocery store in the city of Menominee as well. So I added that to the map. So this is where you can really start to overlay different data sources together. And what maintains the same is that I can go back to those map layers. I can toggle on and off things that I want to. So if I want to turn off the educational structures, I can, and it removes them from the map. If I want to turn them back on, I can see them. But then what I can do is I can go to the go and view those block groups again, and I can see those types of I can do that analysis based on the additional data that I brought in. What I do want to mention, and then I'll open it up for questions, is that if I were to add data into the platform, such as it's my own data, or if it's publicly available, it doesn't necessarily save it in the next time I come back to log in. So you would have to go and re-add that data if you're continuing that analysis. And so I'm going to pause there to see if there are questions. Like I said, I know I'm a little bit over time, but are there any questions?
Well, thank you, Ethan. That was a really awesome demo. And hopefully, for those of you that did not get a chance to explore the tool before the meeting, I think have a much more better understanding of how the tool works. And then for those of you who did, hopefully you'll you were able to think of some ideas of how we could ease the use of the tool, or improve the tool in any way for your specific organization's use, or those in your community that would be working on those transportation planning efforts, and keeping non-drivers in mind. It looks like we do have something in the chat here. Am I seeing something here? Yes, from And again, I'm working from another computer. We have some IT issues on my end. So Ethan, are you able to see the question that's in the chat?
I am looking
Oh,
at.
here it says, okay, it is from Jen. And when data is added, is that saved on the tool for everyone who sees it, or is it just for the person adding it? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. The data that I added is only for me to see. So if like Leah, for example, logged onto the tool at the same time, Leah would be building that map and that data analysis for herself. She would not see the analysis that I'm working on.
Great, thanks for your question, Jen. Jenna Fogarty's question is, would information from the American Community Survey be able to be added?
I think what we can do is we can add that for our list and for after the meeting.
Great. All right. So I think what we're going to do now, and again, thank you, Ethan, for that really great demo.
Leah, there's a hand raised. I think there's one more question, maybe.
I don't see the question.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a hand raised. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
No
Thanks for helping me out there, Katrina. Go ahead.
And is that okay to raise our hand and ask?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yes. I apologize for that.
No, thank you. Great presentation, Ethan. Right at the end, you had mentioned something wouldn't save. So if I'm going through this, I'm adding some data. I kind of want it to stay there for the next time I look. Did you say it won't save and I have to kind of go back and do what I did? Okay. So it doesn't stay, it'll, the next time I go into the tool, it'll start at the baseline information. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. I do want to make sure we answer any other questions before we go into our breakout groups. Ethan is here. He is the expert in the tool. If you have anything, going once, going twice. All right. Again, thank you, Ethan. So what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and divide into our breakout groups. Again, the purpose of the next part of this meeting is to make sure that you have an opportunity to discuss particularly what you just saw from the demonstration that Ethan gave. Kind of consider what surprised you, what features are hitting the mark, and what data you might need. We also want to know how this can support your local planning efforts. I know I keep repeating that over and over again, but please think about this because again, this is, the tool is as good as its use, basically so that we are able to meet the needs of various communities related to the non-driver population with planning purposes. So kind of think about all of that in your particular area. So what we'll go ahead and do is do that. After we have those discussions, you're going to have a facilitator facilitating those discussions within your small group. We're going to come back to the larger group and just kind of go over some takeaways. And then I will talk about the next steps that WiSTAT will take as it relates to all the feedback that we get from all of you today. So let's go ahead and break into our groups here. And who's taking the lead on this? Is Brad?
Ethan's doing it.
Oh,
I've
Ethan
got
is going to do it.
Just finishing up. I just need one more minute, and everyone should automatically move to their breakout groups. We will have 3 breakout groups.
All right, fantastic. All right, welcome back. Let's make sure that we are all here before we move to the next segment of our meeting here.
Looks like, Leah, just for your awareness, they do have a little bit of a buffer for them to come back to the main room from when I closed them.
Okay. Just let me know when I can get started.
Yeah. In about one minute, and then everyone will be forced back into the main room.
Okay.
And so, Mike, if you haven't started the live stream yet, we can kind of start to get that geared up. Mhm. Looks like we're just waiting on group 2, and they're starting to filter back in. Okay, Leah, we are all set.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope that your small group discussions went well. I did have an opportunity to sit in on a small group discussion, and it was very valuable. So valuable that I invited Ethan to come back because I think probably like the group that I was in, some of you may have some additional questions because what I heard was, we have a number of recommendations, but we want to make sure that the non-driver mapping tool can kind of do what we're interested in having it do for our local needs. And so Ethan is here to answer any questions. So I want to do a couple things here. First of all, it would be great to get your feedback. I know some of you had the opportunity to explore the tool prior to the meeting. So we would love to hear from folks. You're welcome to raise your hand, unmute yourself to share what surprised you, what were those aha moments, or even what they were when you saw it for the first time, or if you haven't seen it in a while during Ethan's demonstration. And what questions do you have, since Ethan is here and he kind of understands more of the technical aspect of the non-driver mapping tool. So I'm just going to open it up to chime in. And I'm going to ask my co-chairs. I know, Tammy, I think you probably just joined us a little while ago. So thank you for joining us. Denise, anyone who wants to kick it off. You know what, Jenna Fogarty, are you there? I'm going to, oh, great. Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer, why don't you go ahead? Yes.
Hello, thank you, everyone. Ethan, one of our questions was not being able to save what you've created at that time of going in, and just so we could have maybe a better understanding of why or why not, or would that be possible in the future?
Yeah, I think so. For that one, we'll have to look in with the team. I know there are some tools that have that capability, but if that's something that we can do for this platform, we'll have to check with our GIS unit IT developers for that.
Other questions or comments? I know there was a question that I heard about, or an interest in being able to tell the story, Ethan, and being able to, as you're entering information, creating dashboards or, kind of charts or showing the data and how that works, being able to kind of pull that together to produce reports.
Yeah, I think so there are some ArcGIS platforms that do have that dashboarding and chart building capabilities. I think what would be helpful for us is to what would those dashboards be helpful to show? Kind of what would those charts is there certain like data or trends that would be helpful to show in those if we're able to build that into the platform?
Jennifer Fogarty, are you online? Do you want to speak to more of that since that came from you?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I will. So I think that when I thought about the dashboard piece, it was also born of some conversation around other factors, right? Like we know there are certain factors we may want to, or many groups may want to overlay with the non-driver data, right? So maybe things like disability status, things like earnings, like average earnings and wages in the area. There may be other things, right? So I think some investigation, or if that is a capability of it, of course, then some investigation around well, what do a lot of users want to know, right? What I want to know is probably going to be different from what someone else wants to know. But I think having some like pre-made dashboards demonstrates to people hopping on like how to actually use the tool and some of the power of the tool, while also having like ready-made very useful information.
Yeah.
So that's where I was going with it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful to know kind of what are some of those specific examples that for those additional, I'll call it like additional data related information. Thank you, Jenna.
Susan DeVos, your hand is raised. Susan, if you're talking, you're muted. You're on mute.
Thank you. I want to piggyback on to that and suggest that it might be helpful to try to schedule a few classes online of just some task and a demonstration of what you do step by step to accomplish whatever it is that is the intended, goal.
Mhm. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I know we have done some demonstrations to organizations and at a couple conferences in the past, but I've made a note of that for kind of those more scheduled training opportunities.
Denise.
Yeah, there was a lot that came from our group as well. So we want to echo what Jen asked about the possibility of saving work. And so you can come back to it and extend that with, is there a way to also make some of your work publicly available? I think that folks are doing some pretty innovative project thinking. And so, yeah, a little bit more publicly available analysis. The other things that we talked about were some of the fine tuning some of the layers. Like I'd love to see the age layer fine tuned into kind of age categories, even just grossly working age and an elder age, so that we can look at that with more precision in our analysis. And then we had a discussion about, can the transit and ped and bike networks be a choice to add on rather than having to figure out what's the data set and then search it and then add it. And Nick was remembering that transit agencies used to have to send that data to WisDOT. And if they're still doing that, can that be a WisDOT build, so that we just also shorten the amount of kind of putting the pieces together time that people have to have so that they can get in there and really do their work. And then I'd love to tap what Susan said about training opportunities and/or training videos, particularly for lay folks, advocates and self-advocates, to reduce the intimidation of working with an ArcGIS, because I think there's still a lot of heavy use of it by engineers and planners, and it's such a powerful tool for lay people to use. And I want to make sure that they know that and reduce the intimidation factor.
Thank you, Denise. And that definitely came up in the group that I was in, is, what can we do to make sure that we're keeping in mind the diverse group of users and how we might approach the introduction to the tool, and whether it's through some better tutorials, or even what has been mentioned already, some training sessions, but to keep that in mind, because not everyone is exposed to or understands the GIS, and so it can be definitely intimidating. But there's so much data there that can be very useful. But how do we approach it so that a variety of audiences are able to use it for a variety of purposes? and telling the story. So I heard a lot about that from our group. So this is definitely something that we are going to take back to see how we can approach it in a variety of ways. I even think too, I mean, when we were even talking about it, you know, that's why I brought Ethan back as well, because even some of us within WiSTAT were struggling to answer some of the questions as well. So I think, you know, we're struggling then. What's that like for folks outside of the department? Yeah. Very good points. So thank you. Others? Any of the facilitators want to share insights from what you heard from the groups that you were facilitating discussions with? Camden, how about you?
Coming online. Thanks, everyone. I think Denise captured our discussion very well. We had some lengthy discussions on being able to save projects there in order so you don't have to recreate the wheel, and then adding additional information so you don't have to go hunting for it. We were really focused on that functionality piece and making sure that the information can get to as many people as possible.
Thank you, Camden. Andrew, any insights you want to share with us?
Yeah, thanks. You know, I think a question that popped up a few times for our group was, why are people non-drivers? So we've got the percentage range in there, but what information can we provide that helps explain why, and breaking down some of those categories more. So Denise mentioned age and age categories. We thought, can we articulate, why are people non-drivers? Is it a choice? Is it because of a disability? Is it because of their health? Kind of just getting a little bit more context into the information would be helpful. We did have challenges with kind of using the platform, everywhere from just not quite knowing where to click or what to do when you first enter it. So examples of how to do something, specific examples just to get introduced to the platform might be helpful. A lot of data, thoughts about data and how we could interact. So we had, let's see, I think it was Jeremy from Veterans Affairs. So veterans data, and we talked about having data at a zip code level might help in really engage some of that additional data that somebody else might want to be bringing in. Information from political boundaries, might be helpful, urban and rural. So again, just kind of how are we breaking down the data to make it useful for very individual use cases, seem to be a trend. Really great discussion. I think our group presented a lot of great feedback for the department to come back and talk about and think about.
Great, thank you. I know we're getting close to the end of our meeting. I just want to give an opportunity for anyone else that'd like to share your feedback with us or any suggestions that you have or questions. All right, well, thank you. I want to sincerely thank everyone for sharing your feedback with us today on how we can improve the non-driver mapping tool for diverse users. A huge thank you to my fellow co-chairs, Denise, Jess, and Tammy Jackson, for your tremendous contributions in helping us shape the meeting for today. Our team will review all of your suggestions, your feedback with our internal partners here at WiSTAT, and we look forward to sharing updates with you as we continue to refresh and update the mapping tool. So we look forward to seeing you at our fall meeting. And thanks again for meeting with us today. It's always great to engage with all of you. You're a very insightful committee, and we continue to take everything that you share with us to heart, to make sure that we are, doing our due diligence to make sure that for the non-driver population, we are removing barriers as much as possible. So thank you all today, and we look forward to seeing you this fall. Take care.